Ezra part 7, and we've come to the end to where I can actually show you the format that's going to happen here, because I combined the other Haggai that I've done to this text. So here's what we got here. This is going to be named the Return to Jerusalem, and right now it's just part 1 because let's just get into it, I guess. It wasn't the order; it was a decreed. These were it was decreed from Cyrus. Okay, for the fulfilling of the prophecies from YHVH. Now, I had to move Cyrus over here to make it sound better. The blue words I removed. I used, instead of the proclamation, I got sent out his messengers that, you know, that would go out and herald his decree. And I don't think that they would start out and say Cyrus says. I think they would say the king commands. Okay. And then I changed it to, instead of the creator of heaven, my creator of heaven, because Cyrus, as we know, when we look at this word, was appointed. That means our creator has appointed him, so he must have given him a vision of our creator, because it says here also, YHVH stirred Cyrus's heart. So the only way he could do that is from a vision. So this might have actually been a vision from Cyrus, titled, and they just replaced it with Ezra's name. But what I did here was I needed to correct a little bit more here, and I put coins. I added coins. You can see that there's not much here. I'm just shortening down the words to go, left to rebuild. I moved the word, his name here to over here, and I'm putting in some spaces here to, as if you were to read them, these spaces kind of divide the subject up a little bit. So if you're reading it, it'll be like, what's this? Then you can only read it. And if you go back up, you can say, well, okay, that stops. I couldn't just sit here and put something in that says stops and starts, stops and starts. So I put it as spaces, and then you can see a space here again. Now I went through and I started shortening up the names. So you're going to see a lot of the names that are being shortened up here as well. Now this here is very unique because because when I combine the text from Haggai, and you're going to see that, you're going to see why I did this, and then just getting rid of the T off the end of that name there. Now this is something I still need to wait until I get probably into the scroll. It would be, I think it would be in Exodus when they're dividing, Joshua's dividing up the land, whether they're using that river, and I know they use that river. I want to know what they name that river to know which one is true. Those little additions don't need to be. And I gave them a new title, the Returners. I don't even think that's actually the word that exists in the English language when you go to the dictionary, but it has to be talking about our returners while we're building the house. So they weren't exiles anymore. Since they had returned, I named them returners. I got this part rid of his name here. I got this part of his name removed here. Now, I want to note something important. Notice his name here, okay? And how it's spelled with an E, because if you replace that with an O, you have Joshua. But the object is this E is coming from the scroll Haggai. I changed the word accusation. Like I tell you all the time, I'm trying to make sure that like a 12-year-old can read the text. When I went through here, I needed to add this verse here to make this a 4-verse ending, so I didn't have like a double space and a double space to divide the story up. But if I did this, it read better and it kept it to a 4-verse format, and then this was a 4-verse format. Little corrections. Here's where I had to change. See, if I would have took that out, we would have had 2 guys with the name Mitt. So I left the H there. We have a Mitt and a Mip. So it needed to keep them separate. I want to make sure when people do a word search that they get the name that they're looking for. I had to put it in the first person to say what was going on. Okay, now here is the prophecy from Haggai that I put in. And there is information here that I need to go over, because when I put this text in here, these 2 here went with these 2 here as a 4-verse, and you can see that I added the text there. Well, when I'm looking at saying, okay, well, how come these 2 are stuck out in the middle of nowhere, and that was the introduction, that if I tied it to this, it became perfect, okay? So what I did was I moved this down, I moved this text down to here, and that's what that's one step. And then I'm going to remove this text here to complete the story. Now that we've got this text gone and that text gone, we've got this left. Okay, now this one here, let's see, this text that goes from here to here, I moved this down because we have now a high priest. Okay, we didn't have a high priest in this story and we know that he would have appointed a high priest. So we're going to use the name here. And I told you that I removed this part off this guy's name earlier, but it didn't have the EH. So I removed the EH, and this guy's name here is from above, the text above. And notice how this E is used here as his son. So I had to change this name here all the way up, and then we didn't have to worry about having 2 Joshuas and worrying about 2 Joshuas. So I think I removed this part here later in the text when I went through it a little bit farther. This text here isn't needed anymore, okay? But I did use this verse right here, or at least this much of that verse, okay? So I want to let you know that where I got that from. So I will be removing everything here up here to clean the text up when you see it down farther. And now you see him talking about the prophecy, and all of a sudden even the rest of the text that was in the prophecy is being used, and you can see that the names were so close. Example here, you see how I changed that, and you've seen how I changed this name here. Okay, and here is this guy that I'm saying is, where is it, going to end up being our high priest. Okay, he is mentioned in both books. So, and so is this guy here, and so is this guy here, and then this guy here's name is Joshua in the other book. So like I said, you can see I did get rid of the ending here. And then I needed to clean this up because it said we started on such a day of the 6th month in the 3rd, whatever year. This, I think, I've got noted later that the text needs to be rechecked for those dates, just like the other red that I noticed with the hyphen. We didn't know which king it was, so I had put both of them in there, and now we have Darius as the king and the second king here. And then I really didn't need this text here anymore that was in the scroll Ezra, because we already have that, who he is, at the beginning. And then it actually flows right in with this story here if we correct a few names. And then the next story here, I had to add the word Cyrus. When I went over this, I tried to chop this sentence up a million different ways to get it, and I needed to just do this to this text. It's still going to be a problem when you read it, though. It's going to be one of those that, what the heck is going on here? But maybe someday I will figure out a better verse here. And then, as you can see, I've got spacings for the difference of the story. I changed this and this a little bit. As I go through here, I'm still was worried about the word issue. I'm going to take the yellow off, and once I put all these together, I'm going to do a word search of the text and see if I can replace the word issue with I commanded a decree, or I proclaimed a decree, something. Anyways, come down here. Now this is where this text here is in the order for 3 verse that would be here. But this is where I need to add this guy's name here. So what you can see is here, I used the word then from here, okay? And then I added this text from the book Haggai. And when I combine, and then I use the rest of this verse here as my second verse. And then all I did was use these two and got rid of the word all, as you see here. And that becomes a new 3 verse. Okay. And now we have a high priest at this time. And let's see. Here, I'm going to say that the number 3 is correct. 13 because of what I've told you is why they're there. And then you can see I needed to correct a little bit of the text here, because the story here that we had killed the Passover rams, meaning that that's the Passover day, okay, or the day of preparation, is the way the 4 Gospels label that day. And then the story says, then they commanded the celebration. See, I've got the 13, the text is saying that they have these, the house is built, the day of preparation, people are out killing the rams and gathering around for the celebration, that meal at night. But they did this here on the preparation day, okay, or the day before preparation, but I think when I'm reading it, it sounds like it's the day before, yeah, it sounds like it's on the day of preparation. And then they're going to celebrate this on the first day of the first month, okay? What's going to happen here when I change this, for we had killed the Passover rams, changes this verse, but you're going to see at the very end how they arrived when they were doing this, okay? So now Ezra's group is going to show up while they're doing this, and then they help celebrate as well, or they celebrated on the first day. But it just needed that fine little tweaking here to match what's going to happen later. I just wanted to explain that why they changed these, because it does kind of change the story a little bit. Now we have some text here that needs to be cleaned up. And what happened, and here's what I've got here. Ezra in the 6th year of the king had arrived by our first day of the first month. See, this is, you had to tie a couple of these together. I forgot about this one, but the object is that doing this ties it to they were offering their sin offering for each tribe and the whole of all Israelis. Now, this reads out of order, and we'll find that it's not needed because some of this is already up here, okay? Or not here, but it will be in the text later. So this text will be taken out, but when the story you just leap over, now we have the story here that continues, and it continues very well. But there's this next little spot where at the river they had passed out, already handed out gold and silver to people to carry. So that group is there. But now this is the text that needed to be moved, because all of a sudden they had not separated themselves from the race, and it just really just can't pop in here. Okay, so what I think I did, what I did was I added it right here. I don't have the word moved there, and I don't know why. Oh, I'm showing this is the group that I moved. This is where I moved it. Okay, that's what it is. The story follows. I was wondering how I'm reading this, and it does follow right here, not up above. This text has been moved here, and I'm going to show you where it's moved from. But I'll have this, I'm going to show this all cleaned up here in a minute. All this needed to be moved there. And then it talks about, then they journeyed from that lake, and then they arrived to Jerusalem. And you can see here, our people who came from captivity were offering to our Creator 10 and 13, or 10 and 3 rams. That matches, okay? So that's why I was saying I had to correct those few words in those 2 verses to match that. And then this is the end. And this is where I had to move all this text up to put it in the correct order. Okay, now this is what the text looks like when it's cleaned up. And I think it's just stunning to sit here and be able to read these 2 books joined together, because they fit really good. And now we actually have the returning, and the truth of the returning says that the books of Ruth and Esther are lies, are just made up. So I just thought I'd let you know that when you try to say, how did I do this to destroy those 2 books as lies, the text is telling us here, and I tried to explain how all this reasoning of why this Cyrus would have gotten a vision from our Creator here to say that it was at that time, because of all the wonders that he did to Nebuchadnezzar. So the text is really, really nice here. And just like I said, I had to use Daniel then for the name, and I showed you the ending, how close it is to like something Nebuchadnezzar would name him. And then, like I said, I still got this problem here with these words. that needs to be corrected. And then I'm thinking this now becomes the text. Now I'm going to put this in a PDF, and it will be in the description below at some time, quickly, because I've got to really work on my website to start having a place to be able to click on a link and get it to you without something permanent place. Because I'm going to put all the links to everything that I've done in a PDF as well. So I'm working on that, and then I'm going to go onto the 4 Gospels and put them together, and we're going to have the story of, sometimes there's going to be a gap, just like for judges, there's no telling how the judges are or the order of the judges, but we're going to have from Daniel, and then it's going to be this text here returning, and then we're going to have the story of Jesus and the truthful story of what's going on here. Then see here, this is what I said. I've highlighted that as it still needs to be corrected. It still needs to be absolutely checked for the absolute truth. And it just reads really good, really good. I mean, when you look at the text, you can see that there's different styles just by looking at the text. So this text at the end is almost, we can say, is written by Ezra. Now, he doesn't have the finest of writing, but I noticed that, let me show you something here, because, okay, this is where it's going to be Ezra. You can see that he starts out, notice how these verses are smaller, okay? So you know it's not like got the same writer here, just obvious, you know. And so the other guy's style wasn't as good as Ezra's. So when it said he was a scribe and a judge, you can see his talent when he's writing, because they're 4 verse, and then it goes into a 3 verse, and then it remains a 3 verse. And it looks like he's done that intentionally. But the object is those are well-written verses. And I want to show you something about when, for copyright reasons, somebody could come in here and connect all these verses or these words differently and steal my copyrights and all the work that has been done to show you these formats. They would just cover it up. So what I've done is to prevent that, I've done this format this way, where I've combined the 2 up at the very beginning. These would have been 4 groups. Okay, this would have been 1 group that you would have read. Okay, well, actually, they do go together to where you could say that this is now a larger paragraph. So not only is it's repeatable when I'm finding these verses to say these 3 hook together and these 3 hook together. Now I can say that these three hook together. Okay, so this is another format. And then as I go through here, I had to separate them because you can see that there's now text missing here. Okay, all right, and that has to be looked at there, and then there's text here that'd be missing. But notice how many times that they were grouped together. Now what I did was changed it up, and I made them just a paragraph, as if you were to read a paragraph. Okay, and this is to prevent people from stealing the copyrights, because I know the laws in for copyrights. So I did some of them in paragraphs, some of them grouped in styles, like I was saying, 3 and 3 together as just sentences. But all this I wanted just to show, just to let you know that when I'm done with these, I've done a lot of this. So it's kind of like to show what is going to be shown in the future. Just like if you go on my website and see our creators hidden formats, and you'll see that one of them I'm not going to put into print, and then there's the print of every sentence put together as a running of a sentence, and like as much as completed as a sentence as possible. And then I think I even made those groups as a number on the right hand side, and that was tedious doing that. But the object here is there's 2 ways that I've done that book just for copyright reasons, and I'm going to do that here as well. I've already got it started, so I'm just saying that the ones that you're seeing that done are already done this way. But I really enjoyed doing this text here. It was really fun to go through and explain why and reasoning it out before you, so you can say that, hey, this guy is not really an idiot as much as we thought when I first clicked on it. That the text is just stunning to see how these 3 verses, 3 verses, 3 verses, and 4 verses that are in here, and how easily the text from Prophet Haggai went into this book here. And they were calling Ezra a prophet. Well, there's no prophecy from Ezra. So it is the story of Ezra returning, and it's from Egypt. See, when you look at people trying to deceive people, they have to do it over time. And so this is what they've had to do. They've had to change words and meaning over time. But here I'm revealing the first writer's words, and you can see by these formats that they are small paragraphs, and they are definitely 333 that can be done to tell the story. And it is a story. It's not just a bleep here and a bleep there. I mean, when I done the Psalms, I think Psalm 117 or something like that is like only 4 verses. So is that the whole thing? Is that a piece apart or what? You know, but a lot of the Psalms, yes, we have text that goes through and does the same thing in different formats. In fact, I think there's 4 different type of formats found in Psalms. But what I want to do is now, like I said, go on to the 4 Gospels, but I've got to do some work on my website. So this might be the last video for a few days. Depends if I have to learn a new program. I have talked to the company. They screwed the stuff up on my page. My passwords have been changed. So, and then they told me, well, they had a problem down there on their end, and we would have just said, hey, there's a hiccup. But we changed so much. I mean, it was like an hour and a half I was with the guy, and then kind of like he says, oh, I was just informed that our website is down, so nobody can be posting. Oh boy, that was a mess. But now I haven't really been able to post back on the site yet. So anyways, they're a great place, but I'm just saying that I've been with them since like 96 or something. So it's a long time. One of the first companies that really done $1 million websites. Okay, maybe I even get my lights fixed. Okay.